Okay, so the recording has started. I'll hand over to the chair, Councillor Anna Abella.
Thank you, Naz. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Abella, and I am the chair of this committee. Before we proceed to introductions, I just wanted to let everyone know that item 6 on the agenda has been withdrawn. So we're going to go after the preliminaries. We'll go to agenda item 7, which relates to Cambridge off license. So we'll start off with introductions first. I'll first ask my committee members to introduce themselves. Councillor Blake.
Councillor Barbara Blake, I'm a councillor in Seven Sisters Ward.
Thank you. Councillor Da Costa.
Councillor Nick Da Costa, member for Highgate Ward.
Thank you. Could the legal officer kindly introduce herself?
I'm Michelle Williams and I'm the legal advisor.
Thank you. Could the clerk kindly introduce himself?
I'm Nazir Chowdhury. I'm Democratic Services and I'm clerk to this meeting.
Thank you. Could the licensing officer introduce herself?
Good evening. I'm Delia Barrett. I'm the licensing team leader.
Thank you. Could the review applicant, so I think there are two individuals here from the Trading Standards Authority. Could you kindly introduce yourselves?
Yeah, my name is Muti Balakrishnan, Trading Standards Officer.
And
hello, my name is Felicia Kemazum and I'm the Commercial Environmental Health and Trading Standards Manager.
Thank you. And could the license holder introduce himself?
My name is Azad Duman. I'm license holder.
Thank you, Mr. Duman. Will you be representing yourself, or do you have someone assisting you who will represent you during this this committee?
Excuse me. My nephew next to me.
I see. But will you be the one speaking on behalf of Cambridge off license, or will it be your nephew?
Yes. Yes.
It will be you.
No, it's my cousin.
Your nephew. I see. Okay. Thank you. So before we proceed, I just want to let everyone know that this meeting is being recorded and will be available for public viewing. We have had one apology for absence from Councillor Koshika Amin, and Councillor Barbara Blake has kindly agreed to substitute her on this committee. Clerk, are there any items for urgent business?
No items listed, Chair.
Thank you. Do the members have any declarations of interest?
No.
No. So I'm just going to briefly summarize the procedure that we are going to follow, which has been emailed to all the participants by the clerk ahead of the meeting. For the purposes of any members of the public watching, for the variation application, we will first hear from the licensing officer. After that, the applicant will present their case to the subcommittee. The objectors and the subcommittee will have the opportunity to ask.
Sorry, Chair, it's
Apologies,
the
I'm
review
reading the wrong one. Yes. So for the review application, we will first hear from the licensing officer. No. Yes. Sorry about that. After that, the review applicant will present their case to the subcommittee. The subcommittee and the license holder will have the opportunity to ask questions. And finally, the license holder will present their representation, and the subcommittee and the review applicant will have the opportunity to ask questions. If you wish to speak, and at the end of the meeting, all parties will have the opportunity to sum up, and then the meeting will conclude to allow the subcommittee to deliberate and reach a decision. The decision will then be provided in writing within 5 working days of this meeting. A few housekeeping rules. If you wish to speak, please raise your hand and direct all communication via the chair. We will take all papers as read unless there is anything you wish to draw our attention to. All speakers will be allocated 5 minutes to speak. When speaking, please be succinct and do not exceed the allocated time unless you request for an extension of time, which is at the discretion of the chair. Please do not share addresses of speakers, and in the event that there are several speakers for each party, please avoid repetition and perhaps consider having a spokesperson to address all concerns. So we'll move now to the application for a review of a premises license at Cambridge of license. Ms. Barrett, please can you briefly introduce your report?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, before I start, can Mr. Duman please have his nephew introduce and give his name just for the purposes of the proceeding so that we know the nephew's name that's going to be speaking for.
My name is Hassan Omar, and for yourselves, and I'm trying to represent my uncle next to me, and go ahead.
Great, thank you. So the panel has before them the application for the review of the premises license at Cambridge of license at 36 Great Cambridge Road. This application has been submitted by the Trading Standards Responsible Authority and relates primarily to the objective to prevent crime and disorder and protection of children from harm. The application is set out in the pack at Appendix 1. The main matters are a number of incidents or visits to the premises where trading standards have carried out inspections accompanied by, I've got the Metropolitan Police, I believe there was other officers as well, where they discovered illicit tobacco on the majority of the visits. The Trading Standards Officer will provide further details. On the premises license, you have Mr. Oza Duman as both the premises license holder and the designated premises supervisor. The license currently allows for the sale of alcohol from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. each day. And of course, that's for consumption of the premises. And there is a copy of the existing license at Appendix 2. In considering this matter, the licensing subcommittee may determine to modify the conditions of the license, or to exclude a license for activity from the scope of the license, or to remove the designated premises supervisor, or suspend the license for a period not exceeding 3 months, or to revoke the license. Regardless of what steps are taken, the subcommittee is asked to ensure that clear reasons are given in the summary as to why that particular step has been chosen. In terms of background, the existing premises license took effect on the 25th of June 2021, and the shop is situated along a parade of retail units along the Great Cambridge Road. In terms of the licensing policy, the committee is reminded that a number of reviews may arise in connection with crime that is not directly connected with license of activities. These could be for the sale of contraband goods. The subcommittee does not have power to judge the criminality or otherwise of any issue, and the subcommittee's role is to ensure that the promotion of the crime prevention objective is being upheld and promoted. There are certain criminal activity that may arise in connection with licensed premises, which should be treated particularly seriously. These include the use of the premises for the sale or storage of smuggled tobacco and alcohol. Chair, I think if I go further on, Chair, in terms of other considerations, Section 17 of the Crime and Disorder Act 1998 comes into play, as does the Human Rights Act, Chair, and you have in the bundle the review application, which the Trading Standards Officer will be able to take you through and set out their reasons, Chair, for calling this review.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Councillor Blake, Councillor Da Costa, do you have any questions for Ms. Barrett?
No question from me.
No questions from me.
Thank you both. In that case, we will now hear from the review applicant. Mr. Balakrishnan, Ms. Ekemezuma, who of you is going to present your position?
I'll present the case. I'll take it through quickly because it's long and convoluted.
Yes,
I'll be very brief. Right. Trading Standards found it necessary to bring this license review because there were on four occasions this premises, after a number of advisory visits, was told not to stock or sell foreign cigarettes. The problem with foreign cigarettes is that it has the health warning in foreign language, so people buying the cigarettes are not fully aware of the health implications. And also the price that these cigarettes are sold is much lower than the ones with duty paid. Right. The first occasion was on the 3rd of January of this year, when a test purchase was carried out on the premises. The London-wide council carried out an operation where they asked local authorities to see if there was any illegal activities happening in their borough. So they sent a person to test purchase some cigarettes. As it happened, this operative went in there and he was able to purchase a 20-pack of cigarettes. This was used as an intel, which was followed on the 19th of March when Trading Standards carried out an inspection. The operation was carried out by a dog handler and a dog specially trained to sniff out illegal cigarettes. The officers went to the premises, showed their powers of entry, and the dog handler carried out his search. At the counter, we found a lot of cigarettes, and the first questions the officers asked the applicant was, "Do you have any illegal cigarettes?" He said no. And when the first lot was found, we asked him, "What are these?" He had a bag full and he said they're for his personal use. The dog and the dog handler moved into the stock room where they found some more hidden in the microwave. The officers, including me, seized and gave him a receipt. After that, the total amount was 1,180 cigarettes and 7 pouches of hand-rolled tobacco. The business has a history of non-compliance. On the 27th of April 2022, my colleague went there on a proactive visit. He went and found that the premises stocked vapes or electronic cigarettes, which had a bigger tank size, which is illegal to be sold in this country. On that occasion, he gave him a friendly warning and asked him to remove it, and also advised him not to stock or sell any non-duty paid or foreign cigarettes. Again, on the 12th, there was another occasion when the officer went in, and again he found some cigarettes hidden in an empty bottle of whiskey or box of whiskey. Again, on that occasion, the shopkeeper was given a warning, and a warning letter was sent. So in other words, this particular shop is persistent offender. After the major seizure, a set of questions was sent to Mr. Duman to answer or to explain why he had stocked. It was an occasion for him to tell us what was the reason, why he had stocked it, where did he get it from, was he forced to sell it, so that we can come to an action. To this day, we have not received any reply. And, so that's where we stand. Is there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Balakrishnan. So we'll now take questions from the committee members to Mr. Balakrishnan. Councillor Blake, do you have any questions for him?
So just so I can get this clear, we were asked to look at shops selling cigarettes and ensure that they were complying with the law. That's correct? So a number of premises were looked at. Is that the case?
That's right. On the first occasion, London-wide, it's a problem London-wide. So the Inner London Authority carried out an operation called Red Snapper, where they send an operative, they hire an operative, they send him to different boroughs, because he's the type that shopkeepers would sell. If I went in, or if any normal person, they would not. They know the type of person that they would sell. And on that occasion, they went to about 5 premises and all 5 sold.
Right. Okay. And so the this shop had been given 2 previous warnings. 2 previous warnings.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all the questions from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blake. Councillor Da Costa, do you have any questions?
I do. Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you, Mr. Balakrishnan. I wanted to find out, apart from the visits to the premises, have there been any other correspondence or conversations with the premises, or any response to any of the? You mentioned the letter of the most recent letter was not responded to, the 16th of April, but to the previous letter of the 13th of October.
Right. Okay. Councillor, this particular shop is a member of a responsible retail scheme that the service runs. What the scheme says is there are things that you have to be a responsible person, retailer. You're not supposed to sell to kids, to buy stock cigarettes, that are thing. And every year, or mostly every year, officers go out and carry out a compliance visit. What this visit involves is to reinforce the message: be a good retailer, do not stock this. And we always ask on this, have you got any cigarettes? And he always said no. So the message was reinforced, told him, advised him, and the scheme also involves getting him having a pack of what he should do and what he shouldn't do.
Okay, thank you. Will Trading Standards be taking forward a prosecution as there have been illegal cigarettes stocked in the premises?
On this occasion, yes. At the moment, we are really short of staff. We got lots of cases pending, but it's in the pipeline to prosecute.
Thank you very much. That's all the questions from me, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Da Costa. Ms. Akemezuma, did you want to come in on this last point on prosecution?
No, I was just going to. Muti actually did say the case. I've had a number of staff that have left the local organisation, so we have got a bit of a backlog, and hence why this has taken quite a while for us to get our review through to yourselves. But we are considering a prosecution as well.
Thank you, and that's helpful clarification. I just have a couple of questions for you, Mr. Balakrishnan. Just to clarify, so you've arranged for several enforcement visits to this premises, and on these visits you've discovered several instances of non-compliance. During these visits, was the license holder present, or was an employee present?
It's alleged. When we walked in, it's a bit confusing. When we walk into the shop, we ask who you are, and the first thing they always say is, I'm a worker, and where's the licensee? Oh, the license is not on the premises. We caution them, and we say, all right, fine, give us the name of the licensee. And then we check with the license department to see who the premise license holder is. And then we send the letter on. And no, on this occasion, there was the shop assistant, not the licensee.
I see. And in your opinion, and I understand if you're not able to answer this question, but in your opinion, is there any chance that these multiple instances of non-compliance could have been perpetrated by an employee without the knowledge of the license holder?
There may be, but I'm certain if that's not the case, the letter was sent, the question and the pace was sent to the licensee. He didn't use that opportunity to reply, put his side of the story. He could have easily said, look, I wasn't on the premises. This was done without me knowing. But not even answering or having the courtesy of replying says its own story.
Thank you, Mr. Balakrishnan. Ms. Sakamazuma, would you like to come in on this point? You're on mute.
Sorry, I just need to clarify that Mr. Duman actually was on the premises in January, and he was also on the premises in April 2022, according to the officers that visited on that day. So it wasn't necessarily Mr. Balakrishnan that was there on that day. There were other officers that were there, and in their notes, they've said that he was actually on the premises.
Thank you. That's a helpful clarification. Councillor Da Costa?
Sorry, just in line with that clarification, I just wanted to double check. Was he also present on the 19th of March 2024, as it seems to be the case in the report on page 60?
I believe he wasn't there on his premises. There was a shop assistant there.
Are you sure? Sorry,
yeah,
sorry, because we can I just clarify, because it's actually in our report that he was there. So I just need to clarify that.
Yeah,
please.
Seeing the gentleman in on the video, he wasn't in there. There was another person in the shop.
How can she see me outside like this?
So I think we can move on from these questions. Would the license holder like to ask any questions to Mr. Balakrishnan?
Yes. What she see me there? This one.
Mr. Duman, would you like to ask any questions to Mr. Balakrishnan?
This lady, Mrs. Fileka, yeah. Is that correct? She see me there. She accused the fact that he was there on those two occasions, which he completely and utterly denies the fact that that was the case. And this is what he face to face my any of the occasions to which there have been applied at this present moment in time. I remember this person. No. He was not there. No, he come in, but he can't find nothing. He doesn't know to go. No, hold on a minute. Let me just explain to them one second. On any of the occasions, Mr. Duman is saying that he was not at the premises. It was his employee. And as far as he's concerned, the employees have perpetrated this whole scenario, to which he has already suggested to myself, and he's trying to suggest to the committee that he has disposed of this gentleman working before midday. They own the place. I'm not too sure when he took the license, the current license, the current premises license. I'm not too sure. I do apologize to everybody, but he's trying to make this very clear that at any of the occasions he was not present there.
Okay, I think you can elaborate on this point further when we come to your position. But for now, do you have any questions for Mr. Balakrishnan?
No questions at this present moment in time.
Thank you. Miss Williams, you had your hand up. Was there anything you wanted to say? You're on mute. You're on mute, Michelle.
Sorry, I was seeking clarification from Felicia because the application, the review application, says that Mr. Duman was there on the 19th of March. It says that he was behind the, I think it says he was behind the counter. So I just wanted to seek clarification as to why it says that, if it's now being said that's not the case.
I can go back to our files and check that the case, but I think what's happened is when our officers have gone in and asked who is behind the counter, the person there, because like Mr. Balakrishnan is now saying, now that he sees Mr. Duman, he doesn't recognize him. But I think the staff that are there are claiming they are him when we go in. So that's because what the issue is. They're saying that they are him.
Because they would have asked him that question and he would have identified himself?
They would have asked him who you are, and they would have given the name of who they are for us to then say that that's why I believe my officers think he was there on the day of the visits.
Right, thank you.
I mean, I think, sorry, I can definitely go back and look, because Mr. Balakrishnan was there in March, but not necessarily on the other days. So it could have been that he was there on the other days, but I'd need to check that with the other officers.
So you're not able to check that now for the committee's benefit?
I can't check that now, and unfortunately, the officers have all left the council as well. So it's going to be very difficult to get that information.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Da Costa, do you have a question?
It's still on this point. It's on this point. If we refer, actually, do you know what? I will address it in my questions to the premises license holder, because page 75, there is a name and a signature on that document, but I'll address that when we get to that section.
Thank you, Councillor Da Costa. So we'll now hear from the license holder. Mr. Ozer Duman, through your nephew, could you submit your representation?
As on behalf of my uncle, as we said clearly, on these occasions.
Could you please move into the camera, because we cannot see you?
Right. Can you see me?
Yeah. Yes.
Right. As what I'm trying to say is, at this present moment in time and in the near future, this is a situation that shouldn't have happened, wouldn't have happened, had certain things been in place. I presume everybody adheres to this. But regardless of the fact that, as he suggested to myself, on these several occasions, he wasn't there. And as he's also said to myself that he wasn't aware of any of this. And furthermore, the fact that, I do apologize, guys, there's an incoming call, I forgot to just make on disturb. His employees have been completely dishonest to himself, causing them, for example, saying that on these occasions that he was there, and if the employee says, or whether they suggest that it's him, that's something completely different. So I just want to make that very clear. And furthermore, as with regards to the review you guys, the training centers have put across to the council in terms of a new DPS, a new supervisor, that's something that which we really consider and take on board, utterly and solely. At the end of the day, this is an individual who has been in business for a considerable amount of time. It's his livelihood. Nobody wants to destroy his livelihood. That's very clear. And if that does happen, then it's a consequence to which it's quite really destroying. Really, it's a catastrophe. To be honest with you, that's really what he wants to say.
Thank you for your intervention. Councillor Blake, do you have any questions for the license holder?
Yes, I do. So how many employees does your uncle have?
He said 2.
2.
Correct.
And I mean, these employees, are they still the same employees? How long have the 2 employees worked there?
Değiştirdim işte, Mustafa gitti ama Anet Arsova devirken gitmeyen anadır Mustafa enişte var işte.
Tamam. Ne zaman değiştirdiğimi soruyorum. 3 ay, 6 ay orada çalışıyorum. Kaç yıl çalışıyorum?
Değiştirdiğim bir şey. Mustafa orada görünüyor ama orada şeyde görünmüyor yani.
These current 2 employees have been there for about kaç yıl oldu?
2-3 yıl oldu. Mustafa ama uzun zaman. Mustafa da 2 yıldır çalışıyor.
Yeah.
Eski çalışan olduğu için.
The current employees have been there for about a year.
Mustafa orada çalışan ama kendi göstermedi sonra.
Tamam. Ama kim gösteriyor şimdi?
Şimdi bir
tamam. For the last, give or take, it's, let's just say, I don't know the exact date, I do apologize.
but they've been there for almost coming up to a year, I would say. More than a year. But
Okay, so, sorry,
ahead, sir.
sorry, go on.
Apologize. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, although you say that the employees have been dishonest,
Completely and utterly.
and they have pretended to be Mr. Your uncle, Mr. Duman, he still kept them employed there then. Why would you do that?
But to be honest with you, şöyle diyeyim. Şimdi de akşam gidiyorum. As well my the problem is he wasn't aware of it, and I do appreciate the fact that he should be aware of it, which I reiterated to him. He should be aware of it. He wasn't. At this present moment in time, and I'm talking about within the last less than 2 months, and coming to the point of where we having to stay here and having this committee is where he's just completely changed everything, changed the whole spectrum, alter it, and go with the recommendations as to what the review has suggested.
Okay, all right. I've no further questions at this moment, but I might come back, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Blake. Councillor Da Costa, do you have any questions?
I have a couple of questions, yes. So firstly, Mr. Duman received a number of letters from the council on the 3rd of May 2022, on the 13th of October 2022, and the letter of the 13th of October 2022 asked for information relating to the supplier of the cigarettes. Why was that not responded to?
As you stated, these correspondence that were sent out, from what my uncle is saying at the moment, is it's very silly and very it's not responsible to reply to any of these correspondence. He is not aware of none of these correspondence. I doesn't know.
So those correspondence predate the most recent issue. So as you mentioned to Councillor Blake,
yeah,
your 2 dishonest employees have been employed for 1 year. The 2 letters I refer to are from 2 years ago, so predating those employees. So is the argument you're using that Mr. Duman has had dishonest employees for a number of years rather than just in the last year?
Well, to be honest with you, like I said, like what he said to me right now is the fact that these current employees have been there for almost a year. Previous to this, as you've just suggested to myself, that these correspondence were sent to him. He's clearly stated to myself, which we want to say to everybody on the committee, that he's been in business for a very long time. Had he received this correspondence, as he says and he states at the moment that he didn't, would clearly and utterly adhere to them immediately. But in respect to the employees, like I said, these current ones have been there for the last, give or take, a year. The previous ones, they were there, but they're no longer there anymore. So it's the problem that we currently have is a lot of dishonest employees.
Okay.
And unfortunately, it's the onus is his responsibility, which we utterly and 100% adhere to and comply to, regardless. But
sorry, apology. I'm going to interrupt you because I think we're going to continue on the same line, and it's not because I'm trying to be rude, just for time purposes.
Yeah.
So I assume then the letter of the 16th of April, which was a letter sent out under caution, as well, was never received by your uncle, Mr. Duman.
Yeah. Tamam seni gönderelim mi? Sen görmedin mi diye?
Hayır ben görme bana gelin çünkü in the morning ben orada yokum.
Tamam
Sabahta ben yokum orada. Silge şunları ya.
He hasn't received this letter.
Ben görmedim.
Tamam.
Okay, so he hadn't received that letter either. So fine.
Ben görmedim. Gelmiş olabilir. Ben görmedim çünkü
It's a possibility to have, but he hasn't seen
Ben
it.
5'te geleyim. 5
You know, this is a letter portion because bear in mind. One second.
Early coming letter, 9 o'clock coming.
Okay.
Bear in mind.
Doesn't see nothing.
Okay, fine. I understand what Mr. Duman is saying. So, okay. If we look at the bundle on page 75 of the reports that we have a copy of the receipt which Mr. Balakrishnan completed and signed when they did the inspection on the 19th of March. I'm not sure if you have that in front of you, but in the middle of the page, there is a signature from someone called Oza, which I have to assume is Mr. Duman. Is that Mr. Duman's signature?
Benim imzamı atmış adam ya. Benim ismime benim imzamı atmış.
The individual,
Ben o kağıt bende
he's
de
claimed
var.
that the individual
Benim
signed that paper. He said, I have not signed absolutely nothing.
So the individual was the argument is in someone was pretending to be Mr. Duman.
Sigara bende sigara yakalanmadı.
It's someone that's pretended to be himself.
12 tane vape vardı.
Ama orada değil. Orada mısın? Orada değilsin. Öyle söyleyeyim. Sen bir şey mi imzaladın?
İmzaladığında benim imzam yok orada. Ama şu adam geldiğinde imzaladığım bir kağıt var. O adam geldi. I remember.
Tamam. Ne zaman bu adam geldi?
Ben sigara yakartmadım o adamı.
I will come to you shortly, Mr. Balakrishnan. I'm just going to let Mr. Duman answer these questions first.
On that particular occasion, he did not sign nothing. But as let's just be something. Bir defa.
Mr. Duman, please let your nephew answer first, and then I know this is a very emotive topic, but we need to be able to hear everything that's being said. So
himself, he's quite upset.
I can imagine.
It is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, as he says, I haven't signed anything, but in respect to that, bu adam nedir tanıyorsunuz?
Hangisini?
O.
Şunu?
Evet.
Evet geldi bir sefer. Orada bendeki vape gördü. O vape'i de ben haberim yok. Bir sample olarak getirdim. 2 tane vape aldı gitti benden.
Let me just make something very clear to the and to yourself, Nicholas. The individual who I presume...
Mr. Duman, we cannot hear your nephew. So I think one of you has to speak at a time.
I apologize to everybody. Let me just make something clear. Emotions are quite high. So, Nicholas, as what he was suggesting is that by the individual, I do apologize. Balakrishnan, is it? I do apologize. I do apologize if I misspelled or misread your name. Vidaka. What he's saying is that on an occasion that he himself, he do recognize coming to the store and there was some vapes or something like that weren't something that was supposed to be. And to which he gave him a letter that he signed in respect to those vapes.
Yes.
That's all he knows about any sort of signature whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. Chair, I'll leave it for the moment, but I might want to come back after your questions if that's all right.
Thank you. I'm going to pause on my questions because I can see that Mr. Balakrishnan wishes to ask a question. So I'm going to open the floor for Mr. Balakrishnan and Ms. Ekemezuma to ask their questions.
Yeah, I want to clarify something, and to be fair on Mr. Duman, I went and got my notebook on that particular day. I asked the person behind the counter what was his name, and he said his name was Mustafa, because I got him to write, and I can show you that if you can see it. Can you see that? It's in this bottom here. And he gave his owner's name as Mr. Duman. So to be fair, he was right. So he was the worker there. But when he signed the thing, he signed as Mr. Duman.
So are you saying that Mustafa signed the document as author?
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
but
a very
when he
helpful.
signed the receipt, he signed it as his owner. Okay, as Mr. Duman. But in my notebook, he put his name as Mustafa.
Okay, that's a that's a helpful clarification. Mr. Balakrishnan, Ms. Kamazuma, do you have any questions for the license holder?
I do. The occasion when you mentioned that an officer came, it was my colleague who came and took the vape and gave him, followed up with a letter and a receipt of taking the vapes. And on that occasion, he also said to him, do not stock any illegal cigarettes, okay? But he is the DPS. It's his responsible to see whoever the workers are and to cascade the enforcement and the regulations. It's easy for him to wash his hands. He has to take the responsibility. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Balakrishnan. At this point, we're only asking questions. I have one question for Mr. Duman. So I understand that your position is that you were unaware of what was happening inside your shop, and these illegal cigarettes were being brought in by your employees. Could you explain to us how often you would visit your shop?
You can. Said. Öyle soruyor.
Ben every 4 o'clock later, ben every 4 o'clock.
Her gün yok. Sen 3 gün geliyorsun orada. Sen her gün gidiyorsun, 3 gün. 3 gün. 3 gün diyor.
3 gün akşamları mı?
Hi there. So as to, I do apologize. I'm just trying to get the information myself. And as he suggested that he's on there after 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening on each 3 or 4 days a week.
So you were there 3 or 4 days a week. Sorry, every 3 or you were there 3 or 4 days a week in the evening.
Basis, 3 to 4 days a week, but off in the evening. So we're talking about 5, 6 o'clock thereafterwards.
Yes. And so I'm looking at, for example, page 81 of the bundle. And this says that that the items seized were from behind the counter were significant. So behind the counter there was 9 times 20 packets of Parliament Night Blue, 3 times 20 packets of Marlborough Touch Blue, 6 times 20 packets of Business Royals, 1 times 20 packets of Marlborough Red. And in the microwave in the stock room, there was 7 packets of hand rolling tobacco, 20 times 20 packets of Parliament Night Blue, 10 times 20 packets of Marlborough Touch Blue, and 10 times 20 packets of Business Royals. So these are large quantities of cigarettes with labeling in a foreign language. How is it possible that Mr. Duman was visiting this premises 3 or 4 times a week and not noticing these large quantities of cigarettes with labeling in a foreign language?
Ya ben nerede görüyorum? Yani gidin ben bakayım nerede ben gördüm ben. Gelin zaten ben.
What he's saying is clearly he hasn't seen them. No, he's like the microwave. He said, where am I going to look for? Am I going to look
Zaten
for?
benim yaptığım orada küçücük bir iştir yani. Orada bir şey yapıyoruz zaten orada bir sadece evimin
It's quite difficult for him to find out.
Neye bakayım?
Sorry guys, I do apologize.
Kaç çekti?
What he's saying to you, it's very simple. These amount of cigarettes, I'm not talking. I'm not even aware of this. Are we talking about individual cigarettes or contain package of cigarettes? Because that's a lot of
Packets of cigarettes.
Packets of cigarettes.
Yeah.
So you're talking about individual packets. I smoke cigarettes. Just admit that because there's 20 in each individual packet.
No, 20 packets of 20.
20 packets of 20.
Yeah, or there was more than that. There was, in total, there was.
In total, it's over 1,000 cigarettes.
Yeah. So 50 packets. Over 50 packets in total, yes. Over.
To be honest with
Hiç
you,
haberim yok.
So if
He-
I've understood correctly, there were, if I'm understanding this, so when you say 9 times 20 packets of Parliament Night Blue, is that 9 packets of a cigarette, of a packet that contains 20 cigarettes?
That's
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Okay, so it was 9, 10, 11, 12,
50 tane
12,
karton.
40,
18,
50.
19 packets of
Yes.
cigarettes.
Öyle karton olur mu? Ben bilmiyorum
That's
no.
haber.
correct. So there were 19 packets of cigarettes
Ben
behind the
bilmiyorum.
counter.
Yeah, behind the counter.
Yeah.
Hayır lan.
And 40,
still-
47 in the stock room.
Yeah, still 19 packets of cigarettes is quite a lot. How did Mr. Duman not see 19 packets of cigarettes behind the counter when he went to visit the shop?
It is.
Chair, can we just make sure that the nephew is interpreting for Mr. Duman and giving the answers that Mr. Duman is giving rather than his own answers?
To be honest with you, let me just clarify this right now. Whatever he's saying to me, I'm actually projecting it to yourselves.
Okay, all
I
right.
have not-
So question. It's just that it's when the questions are being asked. I'm not sure if he's giving you the answer to the question that's being asked. So just to make sure that if a question is asked, you put it to him and you give us his answer, if that's okay.
Yes, that's exactly what I've been doing from the get-go.
Okay.
Just to make, that's why I make it very clarified. It is not me speaking, it's himself speaking through myself. I made that clear, and I don't want to be biased in any sort of way. And it's exactly like I said to you, I have no idea about this. I've only found out within the last 48 hours, let's just say. And to myself, I was even shocked to even see this.
Yeah, so if you could put the chair's question to him and then
Yes.
give us his answer,
So
please.
my question is from page 81 of the bundle, in one of the inspections, 19 packets of cigarettes were found behind the counter, and these were illegal cigarettes. How is it possible that Mr. Duman was visiting his property, his shop, 3 to 4 times a week and not seeing these 19 packets of cigarettes behind the counter?
Şey diyor, sen 19 tane sigaret kasadan tarafa var.
Tane mi?
Paket he, 19 tanesi. Tam sen 3 kere 4 kere oraya dükkana gidiyorsun.
Evet.
Ne görmedim diyor.
Ben nereden göreyim adam yapıyor ve saklıyor. Ben nereden bileyim?
I'm just trying to say, he said,
Canım çekiyor.
I haven't seen it. Maybe the individual himself is hiding it. By the time I come there, I don't see it. That's exactly what you're saying to me. How can I not see 19 packets of cigarettes?
Şeyde gidiyorum ben. Ben
It's
geldim,
impossible.
o geldi. Ben gidiyorum akşamları geç gidiyorum.
So
Ben ne
he's
bileyim ben
coming.
geldikten sonra nereye yapayım, nereye koyayım.
He's saying, how do I know this individual is doing this and doing that? He said, it's not possible that someone's leaving something like that
Ben nerede bileyim.
behind my till.
Thank you. Can I just
Okay.
clarify that we are not able to use the chat in this call? So if there's any point you'd like to make, please raise your hand and I will give you the floor. We are not using the chat in this call. I have one more question for Mr. Duman. So I understand that Mr. Duman's position is that his employees were selling these illegal cigarettes without his knowledge, and he was unaware that this was happening. What kind of training was Mr. Duman offering his employees to make sure that they are aware of their legal obligations?
Şey diyor, elemanla hangi treni veriyorsunuz? Ne söylemişsin çünkü yapma, şudur budur.
Ya o zaten biliyor, eskiden bunun lisansı vardı orada. Eski dükkan sahibi aldığım adam bu diyor.
Very simply, he says
They have
that
licenses there. Look, before
this
me,
individual that he had employed previously
before
had
me,
businesses,
benden önce vardı.
and he's aware of these kind of things are
Check it,
it's not allowed.
Bakayım.
Hence why he didn't enforce it to the point where it has to be enforced. It's
Mustafa Yaman baksana çekesine baktı.
this is
Baksana geriye dön, çıkacak orada.
exactly what I'm saying.
Çıkacak.
Yeah, that's what I explained to them. The individual he employed had already licenses before and he had experience from before. To emphasize the point was not necessarily to that point, to the extent where it's going to react to get to this point. This is his answer.
Thank you. Councillor Da Costa, did you have an additional question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So you mentioned the actions that your uncle has taken since he was made aware with regards to the 2 members of staff who I think you said are no longer with you. What action has Mr. Duman taken within the shop since he was aware the license review had happened? Specifically, what changes has he made?
Tamam, bu adam sana soruyormuş ki sen yakalanmışsın. Sen ne yaptınız?
İşte tam application gönderdik.
Sen ne yaptın soruyorum.
Gönderdik biz işte tamam.
Değiştirmem istedim.
Evet.
Ondan
Yapmam istedim. Onu yapayım da. Yaptım zaten orada ben verdim ya içeriye. Evet, ne istiyorsa onu yaptım.
As what he suggested, what he's trying to say is from the review that was done.
Ben evimi geçindim burada, her şeyimi geçindim, mortgage'imi ödemeye çalışıyorum. Ben ne edeyim yani bu yani onu orada tutacak halim yok.
As he said, upon the review that was done, he's taken it completely and utterly seriously. And on the there was a suggestion where the license will be revoked for a 3-month period, which is a complete catastrophe for himself. But on the point of that, which was emphasized, was the DPS that he did try to change with it, but he wasn't. And we put the form. He put the form across to get it changed, but they unfortunately wasn't able to change that because the license was under review. And with regards to the other training procedures that he needs to inform to his employees, like I said, he's in the process. He needs to find new employees at the moment. That is a fundamental. This is why he's trying to emphasize. And at the same time, he's, like I said, it's an individual who has been in business for such an amount of time. Responsibility of selling tobacco and alcohol within the premises, it's paramount. And he adheres to whatever the review is, and he's taking it on board completely. But the extreme of the 3-month suspension, he takes it personally to heart. And he would respect the fact that this is something that hopefully the committee will understand.
Sorry, just to clarify something you gave in the answer, you said you tried to change or remove the designated premises supervisor. Just to clarify, Mr. Duman is the designated premises supervisor. So was he trying to remove himself as the DPS to appoint someone else?
That was as per the review.
Okay, as subject to the review. Okay, fine.
When you received it.
Yeah. Okay.
Can
no more
Barrett
questions from
confirm
me,
that, Chair?
Yeah, you can see that.
Could you repeat that?
Can you give me a moment? I'm just looking through to see if we've actually received a form. Thank you.
In the meantime, no further questions from me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Blake, Mr. Balakrishnan, Mr. Kamazuma, do you have any further questions?
None from me.
Thank you.
None from me.
So we're just waiting for Ms. Barrett to confirm if a form was received on the change of DPS.
Right, so yes, a form was received. The form was rejected. The form was missing the name of the previous DPS, and so couldn't be processed. And that was sent back to Mr. Dumont to advise him of that. And also that the matter was obviously going through the review consultation at this moment in time also. But yeah, he's not come back to update on that form at all.
Thank you. Could you give us the date when this form was submitted? Ms. Barrett.
We responded back on the 5th of September. Let me see if I can get before then. Right, so it looks like he made an attempt on the 2nd of September, and again, that form was rejected due to no DPS variation application was made, and the DPS consent form was completed incorrectly. So that was rejected also on the 2nd of September. And then again, we rejected a further form because it wasn't filled in again on the 5th of September.
Thank you. And with these forms, presumably the forms require you to name a new DPS. Was the person named someone different to Mr. Duman?
Bear with me. Sorry, Chair. Do you want to continue on? I need to actually see if I can access my laptop
That's
again.
Okay. Ms. Williams, do you have a question?
Yes, Chair. Given that removal of the DPS and replacement is one of the powers available to the committee, I was just wondering whether you would want to ask Mr. Duman some details about the person that he was proposing to be the DPS in terms of, their experience, etc.
That's a very good point. So, Mr. Duman, we understand that given the incidents that have taken place, you are proposing to nominate someone instead of yourself as the designated supervisor. Could you tell us who it is that you are planning to nominate and what their qualifications are for this role? What kind of experience they would bring to this role?
Tamamı da soruyorum, diyor ki bu adamı kim değiştiriyorsunuz? Bu adam kim?
Adam dükkan olan biri dükkanını satsın.
Senin alakası ne diyor?
Benim alakası
Ya
söyleyeyim mi?
yani söylesene mi seni beni eleştirirse?
Evet, benim akrabam mı?
He.
Ya benim akrabam.
Tamam, bu experience ne diyor soruyor.
Ekmesi yıllardır şeyde dükkanı var. Dostluğunda. İstiyorsa detayları gönderelim.
The individual that he wanted to change to the DPS is an individual that's been in the off-license trade for over, I think, 20 years, something like that. I'm just estimating. And he is experienced to the utmost. And it's his brother-in-law, just to be clear. And as far as he's concerned, he's 100% more sure that on this occasion that anything like of this, with having someone like that as DPS, will ever occur. A responsible individual with a lot of experience.
Well, you can send it.
Thank you. Ms. Kamazuma, did you have a question?
Yes, can we get the full name of that person, please? And preferably some address or something.
So I'm not sure we can give an address.
Oh, at least the full name of the person, yeah.
Senin ismini istiyorsun. So what you're requiring, I do apologize. You wanted
the name of the person that Mr. Duman wants to nominate as the new DPS.
His name is Ozhan.
Ozhan.
Erdamoğlu.
Mm-hmm.
That's the individual that he put on his application to change DPS after receiving the review.
Sorry, can you just spell that name?
Sorry?
Can you spell his surname, please?
I have to write. I have to give him a pen and paper to write it down. He can't do it from the top of it. If you guys can allow me, I will let him
That's
do that.
fine. Yes, please.
Sure.
It's
Sorry,
okay.
Chair. Sorry, Chair.
Yes,
I
Ms.
probably
Barrett?
think it's been helpful to do that. But even if he was to give the name, the fact of the matter is, Mr. Duman will still, even if the panel decide that there is to be a new DPS, he still needs to actually make the formal application
yes.
process, and that person needs to be vetted by the police as well before they can be accepted. Okay, going forward. So, yeah. So once you can determine that you think a new DPS is required, that's as far as the panel can actually go on that this evening.
Yes, that makes sense.
And apologies, I'm having difficulty because the SharePoint has decided it doesn't like me trying to access it right now, but I will keep trying. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Barrett. Councillor Da Costa, did you have a question?
I do, but I want to let Mr. Duman write the name down first before we then ask the question, because if we're getting him to write the name, I don't want to distract him from that until, I've asked. He's given us the full name with the spelling of Mr. Ozhan Ergetoglu. So once we've got the name, then I will ask my question. If that's all right.
Yes. Mr. Duman, could you write down the name? And if your nephew could spell it for us, please.
I think it looks like the nephew has gone to find paper and a pen.
We can wait for a minute or so. Otherwise, I think this is something that we will have to follow up on after the meeting. Is the license holder still on the line? I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, Chair. I have the form.
Mm-hmm.
So the person being nominated was a Mehmet Erdemil Goglu, it looks like. Erdemioglu. It looks like. And this person has a personal license that was awarded by they live in Hackney. That's much I can say. Okay, but like I said, the form was incomplete, so he would need to resubmit a new form in any event.
Okay.
If your determination was that a new DPS was required.
So I think the license holder is back with us. So while you were fetching pen and paper, we confirmed that in one of your forms, you nominated Mehmet Erdemigoglu as the new DPS. Now, if I understand correctly, you wish to nominate Ozhan Erdemigoglu?
Same person, Chair. The middle name is Ozhan.
Yes. Oh, I see. That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
So, okay. Councillor Da Costa, you had a question.
Thank you very much, Chair. Yeah. Firstly, you need to submit that form very quickly with regards to this person if the committee decides to remove the current DPS. What controls has Mr. Duman put in place to make sure that the new potential DPS follows the law and instructions, and that this does not happen again, and that we're not back in a year's time with another review? What's he going to do to make sure that the new DPS follows the rules?
Değil tabii. Ben böyle bir şey yapmayacağım.
Tamam bu adam
Benim ailemden.
Tamam nasıl bir güveniyorsun diye soruyorum.
Ailemden olduğu için güvenim. Yıllardır dükkan çalışıp böyle bir şey yapmamış.
Simple as this. The individual that he's proposing to have as the DPS in his premises is not only a very experienced individual for, like I said to you, 20 years, which he reiterates, and fundamentally it's family. So he's assured that we will not come to this position again.
Böyle bir şey artık öğrendim. Öyle bir şey yok.
He just wants to make this absolutely and utterly clear
Yok öyle bir şey yok.
to everybody on this committee. To have this individual there with that experience, we'll never have to see this position again.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any further questions for Mr. Duman? No. In that case, we will move to closing remarks. Mr. Balakrishnan, would you like to give your closing remarks?
Only got a few points that this review was brought because he looked like he was a persistent trader that didn't follow the rules and regulations. His shop is situated in a parade where there are other shops, and they have, in the course of time, complained to the officers inspecting them, saying that it's unfair on them to be law-abiding traders when this particular trader is undercutting the sale of cigarettes by selling cheap and dangerous cigarettes. They wanted action brought about it. It took some time, but we eventually got there. First of all, we thought it was just trade rivalry, but as we investigated and carried out our various test purchases, we established that he was selling, and so it was unfair on the other traders. That was the first thing. It's also dangerous in the sense that the cigarettes he sold were not in English. They were in languages that were foreign, and the health warning was meaningless. The other thing is it's also it damages the exchequer by selling a cigarette at about between £8 and £7 when the proper ones are sold between £15. So these cigarettes have been sold at half the price. So there's a damage to the exchequer too. Other than that, he may give us reassurances, but to run a business without any control over it is beggars belief. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Balakrishnan. Mr. Duman, could you give us your concluding remarks?
Söylemek istiyorsunuz değil mi?
Ben doğruları söyledim. Elimde gene şey yapmaya çalışıyorum. Bundan sonra da dükkanımın da başında daha dikkatli olacağım. Herkes için. Öyle bir şey yok. Ben buraya para bağlamışım. Ben burada mortgage'im çıkıyor. Aylık hafta aileme bakıyorum.
Evet.
Ben böyle şeye ihtiyacım yok. Çünkü burada ben ancak kendi kendimi geçindiren bir insanım ya.
Sorry guys, I just want to explain.
Ben bunu işte
what he's saying.
Hiç haberim olmadan dükkanda olan şeyler.
What he's saying is this is quite embarrassing for himself. And in the sense where it's his livelihood, and he will put an extreme emphasis moving forward, and it's having this individual behind him to supervise his premises will be a credible assistant, and he will, and moving forward, will look after his business as he should do.
O zaten kurtarmıyor ki, ben gidiyorum başka yerde başka iş yapıyorum, geri geliyorum.
Tamam öyle diyorum. Hiç soruyorum yani, senin bir şey konuşmak istiyorsun. Ya öyle diyor. The bottom line is it's livelihood, and he's quite apologetic that he's come to this point and shouldn't have to come to this point in the first place.
Thank you, Mr. Duman. So now the committee will deliberate on its decision, and this will be made public in 5 working days after the meeting. This will be provided in 5 working days after the meeting. So thank you, everyone. You can now leave the call, and the committee members will stay on to deliberate on their decision. I hope you all have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
panel.
you.